Listen to a lecture in an archaeology class.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Robert Wolf, and I'm past president of the State Archaeological Society. I'd like to thank Professor Kingsley for asking me to come in and talk to you all about a subject I'm pretty passionate about, shipwrecks. You see, I'm also a diver, and I'm a member of the International Underwater Archaeology Society, and I've been on a lot of underwater expeditions to investigate shipwrecks. A lot of times, when someone mentions shipwrecks, you think of pirates and treasures buried under the sea. And in reality, many divers, the ones we call treasure hunters, do try to find shipwrecks with valuables still aboard them. In fact, that's one of the problems we face in this field. Some shipwrecks have literally been torn apart by treasure hunters searching for gold coins or jewelry, even if there wasn't any there, and underwater archaeologists weren't able to get much information from these ships. But shipwrecks they can be a lot more than just places to look for treasure. A shipwreck is a time capsule, if you know what I mean, a photograph, a snapshot of what life was like at the moment the ship sank. And unlike sites on land, a shipwreck, it's uncontaminated. It's not disturbed by the generations of people who live on the site later. Unless, of course, treasure hunters or someone like that has gotten there first. And so they're valuable tools for archaeologists, for historians. For example, the world's oldest known shipwreck. It sank in about 1400 BC off the coast of Turkey. The artifacts on that ship completely changed the way we think of Bronze Age civilizations in the Mediterranean. So I'm mostly going to stick to shipwrecks that occurred here, that happened off the coast of New England, and I'm going to talk about what we learned from them, what archaeologists have learned from them. There have been plenty of shipwrecks in this area. Over the years, fog and storms and rocks and accidents and sometimes even war have sunk a lot of ships around New England. I'm going to be showing you some slides of shipwrecks from trading ships that sank in colonial days, in the 1600s, to the Andrea Doria, which went down in the 1950s. The Andrea Doria, I suppose that's the most famous shipwreck in the area, the Italian ocean liner, the Andrea Doria, and it's a deep, dangerous dive to get to it, I'll tell you. Oh, and after that, we're going to play a little game. I'm going to show you some slides of artifacts that were found on board shipwrecks. Show them just the way they looked when they were found, and you have to guess what they are.
Now get ready to answer the question. You may use your notes to help you. Question 3. What does this lecture mainly concern? Listen to a discussion in an economics class.
Okay, good morning, everyone. I trust everyone had a good weekend and that you managed to read Chapter 7 on taxation. Friday, we talked about the difference between progressive and regressive taxes. And today we're going to talk about two other types of taxation, direct and indirect. What did the text say about direct taxation? Yes, Troy?
Well, the book, according to the chapter that we read, that's when the person who's being taxed...
Well, it could be a person, or it could be an organization.
Right, the person or organization who's being taxed pays the government directly. Is that it?
That's great. Now, can you provide an example for us?
Yeah, how about income tax?
Why would you consider income tax a form of direct taxation?
Well, because, the person who earns the income pays the taxes directly to the government, right?
Yes, good, Troy. Okay, so someone else. What is indirect taxation? Cheryl?
Well, if I understand the book correctly, it's when the cost of taxation is paid by someone other than the person or organization that is responsible for paying the taxes.
I'd say you understood the book perfectly. That's a good definition. Now, Cheryl, we need an example of indirect taxation.
Okay, let's see. What if some company brings, say, perfume into the country from France? And let's say there's an import tax on the perfume that the government collects from the company. And then, well, the importer just turns around and charges customers more money for the perfume just to pay the import tax.
Good example. Anyone think of another one?
How about this? Last year, my landlady raised my rent, and when I asked her why, she said it was because the city raised her property taxes. Is that an example?
It certainly is. Yes, Cheryl. You have a question?
Yes, Professor. What about sales taxes, direct or indirect?
Good question. I'm going to let you all think about it for just a minute. Talk it over with the person sitting next to you, if you want. And then you're going to tell me.
Now get ready to answer the question. You may use your notes to help you. Question 4. What is the main purpose of this discussion? Listen to a discussion in an art class.
Hello, everyone. Today I'm going to be showing you some slides of, well, I'm just going to project a slide on the screen and see if you can tell me who the artist is and what the name of the painting is. This is his most famous painting. Here we go. Anyone know?
Yeah, I've seen that painting before. I don't remember the name of the artist, but I think the painting is called Nighthawks at the Diner?
Yeah, well, a lot of people call it that, but the real name of the painting is just Nighthawks. Anyone know the artist? Anyone? No? The painter is Edward Hopper. Now, tell me, what sort of reaction do you have when you see it?
It's kind of lonely, kind of depressing, and bleak. It's so dark outside, and inside there are these bright lights, but they're kind of harsh, the lights are, and the people in the diner seem, well, to me, they look really lonely.
A lot of Hopper's works show loneliness, isolation. He was a very realistic painter. One of the reasons he was so realistic, maybe, is that he started off as an illustrator, a commercial artist. And you know, of course, a commercial artist has to be able to paint and draw realistically. In fact, Hopper spent most of his early career doing illustrations and just traveling around. He didn't develop his characteristic style, his mature style, until, I'd say, not until he was in his 40s or maybe 50s. Anyway, most of his paintings show empty city streets, country roads, railroad tracks. There are paintings of storefronts, restaurants, and let me show you another. This is the first one of his mature paintings, and the first one that really made him famous. It's called The House by the Railroad. It's pretty bleak, too, isn't it? You'll notice as we look at more slides that, there aren't many people in the paintings. And the ones that you do see, they look, you could almost say, impersonal, melancholy. That's the mood he tried to convey. Wait, let me back up just a second. He, Hopper, always said he was just painting what he saw, that he wasn't trying to show isolation and loneliness, but one look at his paintings tells you he wasn't being completely honest about this.
Some of these paintings remind me of those old black and white movies from, like, the 30s and 40s.
Yeah, I agree. That type of movie, that style of movie making, is called film noir. And yeah, it does have that same feel, doesn't it? And it's interesting that you should say that, because Hopper did have an influence on some movie makers. On the other hand, he did not have much of an influence on his own generation of painters. Nobody else painted the way Hopper did, at least not until the photorealistic painters in the 60s and 70s. But his contemporaries weren't interested in realism. They were, we'll see some of their works next week when we talk about abstract expressionism.